Hello everyone and welcome to State of the Realm, your weekly Final Fantasy XIV podcast. This week we will be continuing our theme of covering patch 3.2, but we are going to be talking about lore. The story, main story, Hildibrand, Alexander, and some other entries that I'm sure Ethys wants to share with us. However, before we can get started, we should probably introduce everyone. I am one of your hosts, Michael, Mr. Happy Poveromo. Joining me, as per usual, is Slyh, aka Slythefox, aka Slyakagreyfox, aka you my boy Blue. How you doing, Slyh?
I'm doing good. How are you doing this week?
I'd say I'm doing all right. I got my Seph weapons. I got all my stories done. I'd say I'm doing all right. I'm working on probably getting into Savage later this week.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me too. And of course, joining us like he did last week because he harassed us so much at the end of last week's episode that we just decided to make this week's episode.
Harassed you?
Yeah, harassed. Like I still have the bruises. That would be Ethys Asher. You all know him, I think. I think they know you at this point.
They should. Oh my god. There's gonna be someone in the chat who doesn't know me for sure. Hi, I'm Ethys.
It's probably better.
I like Final Fantasy XIV lore and long walks inside the beach with Slyh.
Inside the beach.
In the beach.
Not inside the beach. I thought you were gonna say inside Alexander for a second. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Nope, inside the beach.
No, I don't think there are any long walks inside Alexander.
How did he bruise you from Australia? With his words.
With my words. Dude, last episode, actually, when I was listening to that back, I was like, man, I was being really mean.
The wound that cuts deepest isn't on the skin, it's in the soul. Well, like I said, because at the end of last week's episode was like, so next week we're doing lore, right? We're doing lore, right?
Right?
So true story, I didn't tell either of them what the show was on until about 40 minutes ago. Actually, at this I told about 2 hours ago. Slyh I told about 40 minutes ago because at this needed to know more.
You're lucky I woke up early because I saw a message from you on my phone and I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna be alive in like an hour.
I mean, the good news is, it's like, I literally did Hildibrand an hour ago, so it's fresh on my mind.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, it didn't take you too long, did it?
Nah, and it took, literally, 17 minutes to do.
That long?
Yeah, well, I read it over a couple of times.
I read it over, too, but, yeah, it's just so short.
And I had to fly across Corthus, which was probably the longest part of the entire fucking quest.
Yeah.
It's like, alright, so I'm at Falcon's Nest and I have to go to Dusk Vigil. Fuck you. Fuck you. I'm already here and I don't want to teleport to the Dravanian Forelands just to come back here. I'm just gonna fucking fly it. So, we're going to be talking about the story this week. The show will probably not go longer than an hour and a half. If we need to, we will reconvene at a later date and talk more about the story. We also need, at that point, we'd probably be doing Eorzivia as well. Might as well, because, at this point, we'll get through enough of this to the point where we can't have a full second show about the story. So we would probably combine that with Eorzivia the next time that we reconvene. That being said, we should probably get started.
And you're going to give me more than an hour's notice for Eorzivia, aren't you?
Why would I give you any notice? You're not. It's not like you're going to be able to look at the fucking show notes.
Yeah, well, I need to emotionally prepare for that, don't I?
Yeah, for you to somehow lose the lore fucking game show.
I need to do my sort of anus exercises.
Yeah, honestly, if you want to take 10 minutes to do Hildibrand right now while we talk about the main story, you could probably get it done.
Oh, no, sorry. I know what's going on with Hildibrand anyway.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, on that note, we're going to get started with the main story. And before we really talk about the specifics of it, what was our general feel of this one, especially versus 3.1? Because this one wasn't actually that much longer than 3.1's story, but it had a lot more. I felt it had a lot more substance.
I agree with that. I agree. It was more drama filled. I almost wanted to compare it to Before the Fall, but too short.
Well, it's hard to compare because one fucking cutscene in Before the Fall, whenever they give you a cutscene where it warns you, you're gonna be here for a while.
Yeah.
It was what, 28 minutes or something.
I think together both cutscenes, both of the these are super long cutscenes, totaled in at about 50 minutes.
Jeez. Yeah.
It was. I can't wait for that to happen again at 3.5.
Yeah.
I cannot.
See, I'm trying really hard not to say that I have mixed feelings about this last story, because you called me out on having mixed feelings on pretty much everything. But I think it was good. There were just like a lot of things that I was expecting to see and hoping to see that we did not see.
Regarding the Dragonsong War, I'm assuming?
Yeah, particularly regarding the Dragonsong War, and a lot of the predictions that we were making beforehand, like Alizé and Alfino having a little reconvene.
Oh, by the way, spoiler warning.
Oh yeah, spoiler warning and all that. Go and do your story, blah blah blah. Watch it on YouTube later. Subscribe.
Like, favorite, subscribe, and share, please.
Plug.
Dat plug. That's like top 10 plugs in terms of the pure energy and enthusiasm behind that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So looking back at that previous screenshot we got, it kind of makes sense that Alfino is sort of, ramping himself up to say some things he's been meaning to say for a while.
Yeah.
But I think it was really disappointing that we didn't get any. We didn't address the thing with Alizé overhearing Riange and the Warrior of Darkness, and you would have thought that would be like a pretty high priority for her to get that to us. And again, we didn't really see much more of the Warrior of Darkness, which was a bit.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like a lot of things were kind of cut off from 3.1, and it's like we'll get pieces, we'll get little pieces of something else, and then address the thing that was cut off in 3.1, probably in 3.3. Yeah, I agree with you. The whole Warrior of Darkness thing, seeing Derplander for like 5 seconds near the end. Like,
well, those 5 seconds had a lot of meaning.
Not really to me.
I think they did.
I think they did too, because we'll talk about that later, and I'll explain why I specifically want to get to that part too. There's a lot of parts that I was like, no fucking way when they happened here. But we're gonna do it chronologically. So we're gonna start with the earlier parts, which is the first chapter is kind of back on the Ascian chapter. So that's how the patches kind of work now. It breaks it up between the Ascian chapter, the current Dragonsong War, and then spoilers, which in this case, most of our spoilers go towards the Alamegan refugees. Yeah. So the overlying arc, the expansion arc, and the prequel arc is what I like to break down all patches into at this point. I feel like it makes sense. I mean, they're always prepping us for expansion. They're finishing what our current problems are, and then the Ascians are always there.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. That's a reasonable way to structure it.
Yeah. So we're going to start with the Minfilia arc, which is part of the Ascian arc here at the beginning. And Thancred got a lot more, probably the most character development we've seen from him since 1.0, I feel. 2.0 kind of didn't really give him much character development because they were just like, he's possessed. He didn't mean it. Like, that's his entire cop-out for A Realm Reborn. So Thancred's feelings towards Minfilia, his interactions with the other members of the cast. I kind of liked seeing Thancred not be the jokester for once. His look kind of matched his emotion at this point.
Yeah.
I feel like he had a more serious tone, even more so than 3.1. Even when we got him back, he, like you said, he fits the look. His emotions fit the look. He's more rugged, I guess you could say. More, only where I can think of.
More torn.
I wouldn't say torn though.
He gets torn pretty quickly into
this. He's got a pretty short fuse at the moment.
Yeah, he doesn't take a lot of shit.
When we saw him in 3.1, I was sort of saying, all right, it looks like he's just kind of dropped the shit. People are like, oh, he's sort of really changed dramatically and stuff, and he used to be so lighthearted and stuff like that. But through 1.0 and 2.0, we noticed in a couple of places that sort of cheerful nature and the flirting and all that's kind of just a front, and that's a way of him sort of keeping his spirits high and keeping everyone sort of around him in that same sort of field. But it seems like it's more complicated than that. It seems like he's really having some kind of crisis at the moment. He feels like he was too weak.
Do you feel like it goes beyond his feelings towards Minfilia? Because I feel like something happened during his absence that kind of put him in this kind of Leonardo DiCaprio Revenant mode. He's just so.
I think it was more before the fall. I mean, we were talking leading up to before the fall. All right, who's going to have a fall? And the most obvious one for everyone is Alphino. Alphino, his hubris caught up to him, but Thancred seems to have suffered something very similar here, where he's always been so confident that he can find a solution, and he failed. Like he failed Minfilia, he failed the other Scions. We seriously fucked up. He wasn't strong enough.
Well, if you haven't seen the scene because he refers back to the opening scene of Ul'dah from 1.0.
Yeah, he does.
And if you haven't seen that scene, that is a scene that you should probably familiarize yourself with, because it's very central to Thancred and Minfilia's character development. Back when Minfilia, that was how Minfilia was introduced to us, was in the Ul'dah opening cutscene where Gubu runs wild and kills her father.
Yeah, that's right. And she was still a Cilia back then.
Yeah.
And the whole Ul'dah opening is actually a sort of echo flashback of us from sort of, I guess it was about 10 years before 1.0. And her father, I don't think they mentioned when Thancred was talking about it, but her father was actually working as a double agent with the Alamigo resistance for the Empire.
Yeah.
So he was a big deal, and he got killed in this spectacle that was a sort of elaborate ruse put on by the monetarists to make them look heroic by rescuing a bunch of people from a rampage of Gubu. And the point that Thancred was making now was that he was too busy sort of flirting with some girl or whatever to kind of step in before it became a bit too much to handle. But
yeah,
I'm remembering back to that cutscene. He was pretty on top of it. Like, he was pretty on the ball.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. The way it goes is that cutscene has it has the Gubu. It starts breaking free. They try to seal it again. It bitch slaps the dude who had it sealed. Yeah. And then you as a level 1 character and Thancred go in. You fight it, and then after you beat it, it just does it runs through the streets, and it just it just runs right into him, and then it dies immediately. So he's on top of it, but he doesn't actually kill it before it does anything that like harms anyone.
Well, I think the point I'm making here is that Thancred seems to be being unreasonably hard on himself here, and that as far as I'm concerned, there wasn't really anything about his character back then that sort of prevented him from doing more than he could have done. I think he did everything that he could have done back then. And at the moment, he's just sort of feeling like he's too weak to help certain people that he's close to, and he's just sort of grasping at anything that might explain it. So he's got a lot to sort of come to terms with.
Yeah, it's going to be, and I feel that he is going to become another central point, like Urianger J with the Ascian theme, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But very quickly into it, we go back to the Praetorium where Ultima Weapon was, although I was upset they didn't actually have us do that, like some sort of little tiny instance thing where we go back through the Praetorium.
The Praetorium should be burned to the ground by now. Yeah. That really frustrated me. That really frustrated me. Like, the amount of work that we had to go to like get into the Praetorium was such a big deal. And Thancred now is just like, I'll just put the fucking pot helm on, and
that barely got us through the Castrum and Mordona last time.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, come on. And also that we blew the shit out of that. I can't think why they would have bothered rebuilding that. There's no legatus in charge.
Well, Meridianum is what surrounds the Praetorium. It was really only the Praetorium that was completely destroyed. The rest of the Castrum was, the outer skirts of it were still mostly intact.
Yeah, but we saw some shots of the Praetorium in the background in 3.2 here. And it looked like it was exactly as it's always been. I was like, oh, all right, okay.
You think that's Regulus doing?
It's a big fucking crater. After Ultima went off.
Regulus stuck in as a Slyh. He ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, regular couldn't care less about
anything Gaius did. Yeah, he's not exactly Gaius's biggest fan, even though he stole all of his moves. I'm just saying, I've done the 3.0 story. So we do that. We realize, we got to find a way through the ether because Minfilia tracked down the ether from whatever, and now she ended up in the ethereal sea too. And Heidelin's intervention leads us to believe that she's somehow in contact with her. So we go into the Anti-Tower. We go through one of the easiest dungeons I've done in a long time. And we get to the final room, and then we finally, for the first time in a pretty long time, hear Heidelin's voice, or what we determined to be Heidelin's actual voice. Although you don't realize it right away who it actually is. We know, because they fucking spoiled it with all the trailers and shit, but...
Yeah.
Well, also, it's the same voice actor that Minfilia had in Realm Reborn, I think. I don't think they changed the voice actor.
I think she's one of the few that survived the great voice acting change of 3.0.
The great voice acting calamity.
Yeah, that was the 8th Umbral calamity. The voice acting changes calamity. Alphino is the only one that made sense to me because he went through puberty on the inside.
Alphino is great.
Yeah.
He's growing.
So we end up in this situation where Minfilia has turned into the physical manifestation of Heidelin's voice, basically.
And we take a carpet ride.
Yeah,
I can show you the world.
All she doesn't show us any world. She just flies around the crystal.
She flies around the mother crystal. That's it.
Let's just talk while we fly around because I don't want to stay still. It's a nice place.
You can't walk.
Yeah, well, you can fly or swim in this case.
Yeah.
I guess what they were concerned. She's been turned into the Word of the Mother, and now her new name is Wordfilia. Wordfilia, yeah. We had Milfilia, we had Minfilia, we had Broomfilia, and now we have Wordfilia.
All right. Okay. So what do you guys think of that scene? I'm interested to hear what you sort of took from that and the implications we got.
She ain't coming back. She gone.
Okay, she's gone. Do you think she's gone, Haps?
Do I think what?
Does Haps think that she's also gone?
I don't believe anything after fucking Before the Fall. Like,
I
don't believe anything after Before the Fall. I'm like, Mobrina's alive somewhere. She's in fucking Cuba with Tupac and Elvis somewhere. I don't know.
But Heidelin is weakening. Now, we knew that for a while. Since Minfilia and Heidelin are connected in this way, one, do you think we're eventually going to lose Heidelin? And two, if we do lose Heidelin, does that mean we lose Minfilia forever along with Heidelin?
I don't think we're gonna lose her. I don't think we lost her yet. I think that her physical form shattered. I don't think that means anything because even Y'shtola didn't have a physical form when she was drifting in the ethereal sea. We had to drag her out of there. So Minfilia's gonna be fucked up like Y'shtola, but we'll get her back at some point.
I don't know if we'll get her back. I think we'll see her in that sort of capacity a few more times.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we'll ever sort of get her back in the way that we'd sort of think of it. What do you guys think about what she told us, though?
That pretty much Heidelin's on her last limb, and that if we have one more calamity, Zodiark's he's back.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. We don't
even need a calamity at this point. It's just she's so weak that he's imminent.
It's the way I took it is more they need a few more calamities, but they're picking up so much momentum because she is so weak. They're at the point now where they could just roll out like another 7 calamities in the next week.
Fuck it, 7 more. We got this.
Yeah. Because and it sort of explains why they're kind of getting closer and closer together in a way. But we got in the English translation anyway. We got this 10 and 3. What did you guys think of that? So hang on, where are we? I'll just read a bit from what Minfilia was saying. So before there was life in the depths of the ethereal sea, light and dark did once dwell as one. That's pretty consistent with the kind of theories we'd have.
Yeah.
But the darkness coveted power, and the balance was broken. Thus was I forced to banish him onto the distant heavens to forever remain apart, a moon bound. In sundering the star did we cry out, and the barriers twixt planes chanced to falter. Across 10 and 3 were we divided, reflections of the source, each possessed of a shard. What do we think of that?
That confused me.
Mm-hmm.
Because normally the central number I think of is 12 in reference to the 12.
I think of 14. But
or 14.
And 10 and 3, I mean, that's technically that's the same amount of Ascians that there are, 13, or there were back in the day, and they each had a shard. But the thing is, there's no 10 and 3 because it's just 12 and Elidibus. That's not 10 and 3. That's 12 and Elidibus. So unless the 12, as there was actually 13, and there was actually 13 of them, if you take Null and Thal and separate them, that's the only other thing that really lines up with that level to me is the original 12.
What do you think, Sly?
I'm trying to go back to your explanation of the crystal at the beginning before it split into, the astral and the umbral. I just can't think of where that last one is coming from.
I like this theory. Why can't this crystal just fucking speak English, please?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't speak English. It speaks what?
Well,
God.
Interesting segue. We got our English translation, but it also speaks French and German and Japanese. And when you cross-reference some of the other translations, it becomes a little bit more clear that this 10 and 3... We are actually talking about 14. We're talking about, we're taking all of the thing, we're splitting it in half. We got Hydaelyn and Zodiark. Then we're taking the Zodiark half and we're splitting that into 13 distinct pieces so that he's sort of separated and sealed, right? And what's happening with the calamities is that the Ascians are somehow breaking each of those seals and they're sort of rebuilding him, making him sort of a more coherent part of the half. So that's why we talk about rejoining, is because he's sort of becoming more whole, and the way the universe sort of originally was before Hydaelyn and Zodiark were split is coming, closer and closer and closer. So that explains the rejoining. That explains the way that we talk about the calamities, and that also explains the way that Hydaelyn is sort of weakening, and that the weaker she gets, the less able she is to resist these seals being broken. So I think that that's what's going on.
So when are we finding Zodiark?
I really don't think we will.
5.0?
No, 5.0 is too soon. I mean, the thing is, this Ascian arc has to go...
We've got 7... If what I'm saying is right, and I'm pretty sure it is, we've got 7 more calamities before the rejoining is complete.
The thing is, stop making it seem like we ain't got time then. We got time.
Oh, we definitely got time. Like I'm saying, the fact that Hydaelyn's weakening means that we're sort of cascading here, and the only thing that's stopping all of these calamities happening, one after the other, after the other, after the other, is the Warrior of Light. I mean, Thornton, that would have been one of them. Sephirot, that would have been one of them. What else have we got? Nidhogg at the moment, that would be another fucking calamity if we don't intervene in that. It's the Warrior of Light now is the only one standing between, the world and these cascading calamities that are just going to completely ruin everything in a very short space of time.
So wait. Each individual, I'll go ahead and call them instances. Each individual instance you're referring to as a calamity. So
a potential calamity.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, is that all these ridiculous things we're fighting at the moment, and everyone's saying, oh my God, the Warrior of Light is so overpowered. Look at all these gods that we're just throwing aside. Each one of these is the Ascians, as in all the things that the Ascians ever do. It's them trying to produce another Umbral era.
So you say we're due 7 more?
I think so, yeah. I'm not saying we're due 7 more, but I'm saying that for Zodiark to become whole again, we need to have seen all of his 13 bits put together, and then the last one to smash the barrier between him and Hydaelyn and allow him to sort of get back to where he was.
So you would count? Would you count Sephirot towards that one?
I would count the whole triad. To be fair,
my point is that all of these things, I'm not counting them as calamities. I'm saying that if we had not intervened, Sephirot very well could have completely fucked up Eorzea.
Okay, I get what you're saying now. Yeah. But the thing is, with each oncoming quote unquote calamity, Hydaelyn's still getting weaker.
Yeah.
Even though we're stopping these calamities, these supposed calamities, Hydaelyn's still getting weaker.
That's right.
What's going to be the breaking point?
And to be fair, she's not getting weaker only when calamities happen, because she's gotten weaker since 2.0 even, and another calamity has not happened.
True.
Yeah, that's what the primals are all about, is that the Ascians are making sure that there's constantly something sapping away at her ether. Right? It's just the calamities are just really, really big hits all at once. But she's consistently getting weaker and weaker and weaker. Where's the breaking point? I think we've already reached it. I mean, she hasn't been intervening. She hasn't been able to. Mm-hmm. The reason she pulled Minfilia to her is because she's too weak to even appear to us and draw us into one of those echo visions that we get with her. She's too weak to even do that. That's why she actually needed Minfilia's ether, the ether in Minfilia's own body, to fucking sustain her enough to be able to talk to us.
And only when we go to the fucking anti-tower, apparently.
Exactly. So we've already reached that breaking point where she can't do anything else. All of those interventions that we were getting, that we got in the Praetorium, that Kryl got when whatever happened with Baldessian that we presume been involved with X-Death. She can't do that shit anymore. She's done with that. So it's us. It's down to us.
It always is.
We got this.
Yeah. Well, do we?
I mean, we have fucking plot armor, so yeah, we got this. Imagine just one day
you think the Ascians would just do something that's like not in Eorzea? They'd be like, you know what? These guys, they can't get to Mericidia yet. Maybe we should just go fucking plant a bomb there.
And then by the time we get there, like, chronologically, game-wise, it's too late to do anything about it.
We get there and we're like, well, fuck.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Ascians, you know, they're not too bright.
Yeah, they're definitely not too bright. It's like, I'm gonna stand here and tell you how you can't kill me. Oh, shit. You can kill me.
One small, and this is small in terms of the grand scheme of things, but one small thing that I did that was kind of funny to me in terms of the anti-tower was how it was just Matoya's back door. Like, she could just walk into anti-tower any fucking time of the day. Like, it's nothing. It's nothing to her.
Yeah, but it was sealed. It was like the...
But she was the warden, the quote-unquote warden.
Yeah. But, I mean, for one, it was very subtle. It wasn't like it wasn't like what the Garlanes would do if they had, like, some kind of secret facility. They built a great big fucking tower. The Sharlayans, they create this sort of magical ward equivalent of a massive fucking fortress in some batshit crazy old ladies' hermit cave that no one's going to suspect, and if they do, they're not going to be able to break through it. Y'shtola was saying that she'd tried like dozens of times to work out how to get through that door, and other people evidently had as well, and no one could. So I think it was the perfect place to hide it. And it explains why she's the only Sharlayan left there, and she didn't pack up and leave when everyone else did.
Now, speaking about Matoya has some pretty strong words for Alphino, who goes back to being a bitch a little bit this batch.
But he's not
a bit of a regression.
Yeah.
He goes back. He goes back to his whining.
So hard on Alphino.
I agree.
He's still growing as a leader and as a man per se. He's still growing.
We got to remember he's like 14, 15.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but in times like this, you got to grow faster. I mean, Bahamut happened. He's fine.
Like, I think the circumstances are going to allow him to grow faster.
Definitely.
And like under normal circumstances, he wouldn't have this kind of leadership, but he's getting tossed into this. The circumstances are going to shape him to not quite be Louis Slyh, but be pretty close to it.
So what you're saying is eventually he's gonna stop another primal and send us forward in time 5 years, and that'll be a new expansion.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
maybe. He might.
Yeah, we'll get Tupsamati back full again at some point and hand it to him. Here's Tupsamati, Alphino.
Oh my god! If we get Tupsamati back,
I mean, we can still use it with just half. So just put the other two parts back on there.
Tupsamati is so fucking OP.
A little bit. It's a little bit OP. It's a little bit strong. I can't wait for that to be our fucking relic weapon at some point. But Matoya pretty much they reenacts the scene from the trailer where she tells them you have to be willing to fight, to kill, and to die. Mm-hmm. Basically saying, you know this is a war, right? Like, you don't get to be all smiles and shit all the time when you're trying to stop the end of the world.
She's reminding him that he doesn't have plot armor. That's basically the reminder. You don't have plot armor. He does. Worry about yourself.
Well, also, she's reminding us that as the Scions, we sort of think of ourselves as this family and sort of us coming first. And it's like, before anything else, we need to look out for each other. And she's saying, like, you know, sacrifices are going to have to be made. You've got to accept that you can't save everyone all the time. There's going to be some collateral damage. You know, people are going to get hurt.
Didn't Midgard's armor say a life for a life? He kind of reminded the Warrior of Light of this.
I mean, everyone tries to remind everyone around the Scions and the Warrior of Light that they're not invincible. And Moonbrita was supposed to be kind of an awakening to that when she made her sacrifice. But it seemed like they almost immediately, while they didn't forget her, they kind of didn't respect her decision in the way that they should have, and how it was not a one-time thing. It was not this thing that was only going to happen once.
They didn't accept it as necessary. Yeah. They thought it was preventable, and they were sort of constantly trying to work out how they could have, you know, stopped something like that from happening. And I think Matoya's point is you can't, like, things like that are going to happen.
Yeah. And it's, well, Yustola understands that, but like you said, Alphino's a kid, and Thancred doesn't want to understand that, but he does. Yeah, Thancred. Well, for every, and we'll talk about this towards the end when we talk about Alphino's kind of resolution to what he finds most important, and also where Thancred's probably going with his inner turmoil. Everyone of the Scions seems to now become a little bit more fragmented because they all have a different idea of what's supposed to be necessary. Yeah. And Matoya is kind of that joining factor, which I think she's dead before the end of this expansion hits. I'm almost positive Matoya is going to be a sacrifice at some point. That woman's going to do something crazy in like 3.5 or 3.55.
Now, since you say that, do you think that Yustola will be the replacement for Matoya?
I think you're going to see the Scions each individually taking up more important roles like Minfilia has at some point. Alphanos is probably going to remain the way it is now, but he will eventually be the replacement of Louis Slyh, or that's the ideal. Right. Him and Alisaie together at some point are supposed to be his replacements. Minfilia is now the physical embodiment of Heidelin's voice. Yustola's already got some shit fucked up with her eyes, so she's well on her way to doing something else. Kryl is and then now they're implanting the Scions in a lot of our side story quests too, which is something they kind of avoided doing outside of Coil and Primals. Like now it's like, oh hey, I'm here. Yeah, I couldn't not know about this. Like how could I not know about this and just leave this all to you guys? It's like, yeah, I wondered that all last expansion. Now I'm glad that you seem to have recognized that.
Yeah.
It's like in one Marvel movie, it's like this is gonna end the world. You're like, so where are all the other fucking Avengers?
Like every Captain America movie, you see him fucking struggling, and you're like, dude, where are you all?
All I got is Falcon. I need more than this.
Yeah. Some dude with a fucking wings strapped to his fucking back. That's it.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good superhero. On that note, though, we move away from the Ascian arc, and we move into the Dragonsong War arc. Which, I liked this Dragonsong War arc, but it felt too much like 3.1's arc with a bigger twist at the end.
I agree with that. And I felt like it was really poorly paced as well. It was like, all right, bad things happen. Oh, I've got an idea. And then suddenly
Good things happen.
We fight Railbond, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, sweet, okay, resolved. We're done. Now we're back on side." I thought that was really. I thought it was. I'm just gonna say it. I thought it was shit. I thought that was crap. I thought it was absolutely
except
crap.
for the ending.
Wait. Well,
oh yeah. I just mean the pacing.
Yeah.
I will say the Grand Melee was pigeonholed in, but was probably my favorite part.
Those motherfuckers fooled the hell out of me in that trailer. I was like, I know he's not against us, but still, I didn't expect it to be a fucking Grand Melee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. Like, it was a fun instance, but you're right. It was pigeonholed, and that, I don't know, I keep expecting to see some progression with the Dragon Song War, and like you say, we just did the same thing that we did in 3.1. Everyone's feeling good. Oh, a bad thing happened. Now everyone's not sure. Oh, we resolved it. Now everyone's feeling good again. I'm like, I feel like there's other places they can go with it.
The thing you got to realize about the Dragon Song War is there's always going to be I wouldn't say human element, but a human element towards it.
Sure.
And this was the human element. These are people who were hurt by the Dragon Song War that's been going on, and they see this alliance about to happen between dragons and men, and they don't want it to happen. I think
that's understandable. I just don't think the Band-Aid was believable at all. The fact that they're suddenly all okay with it, and the fact that the revolutionary who is willing to get shot twice is now sort of feeling bad and bawling her eyes out, not a day later. It's like,
I think that's Amaric's leadership. It's Amaric's
That's Amaric's plot armor.
Yeah, the only reason why it's wavering was because it was Amaric's leadership that was wavering. In all honesty, I think Amaric pushed a lot of shit on other people. If he was a little more, hands-on with this, I don't think a lot of this would have happened. But leaving
dude got stabbed. All right.
Yeah, he's recovering from a stab wound, and he's still fronted up to the Grand Melee.
I understand.
I was surprised. I was like, he could barely stand.
In 3.2, exactly. His first cutscene in 3.2, he could barely stand up. So I don't think you can say that he's doing everything that he can. But he's wanting to move towards something democratic. Mm-hmm. He's wanting to make sure that the Highborn are on board and they're sort of taking their role. And he's putting his faith in the people, which is the really important thing, the absolutely essential thing. And this time, his faith in the people failed him because Maliane is a little fucking bitch.
I like how we now have two of our four nations have had their leaders just fucked in the ass in some way for them wanting to go democratic. Both of them
that kid is just a fucking asshole.
Are you talking about the girl? Talking about the girl, or you're talking about
No, I'm talking about Manalaine.
Manalaine.
Manalaine, yeah.
Actually, I was kind of expecting this out of Atwarel, but
I didn't see. No, Atwarel was in 3.1. Atwarel was really on board with what Emmerich was trying to do, whereas Manalaine was sulking. He was being a little bitch.
Yeah, I mean, one of the very last cutscenes shows him kind of just walking off. Like,
yeah, I get that, but I like Manalaine's behavior. His whole behavior. I was expecting that out of Atwarel a little bit, but not Manalaine to go full on bitch and just say, fuck this shit, I'm out. I don't feel like doing anything here. You do this. I don't want to do this.
The only thing Manalaine seems to be able to identify with is people around him being affected negatively. Like, as soon as he sees something bad happen to them, he wants to fix it in some way. But up until that moment, he's just like,
like right when it hits home, when Honorat got
beat the fuck up.
Yeah, he got beat the fuck down.
He got fucking curb stomped.
And then I like how they showed how much of a bitch he is when he punches Thancred, and Thancred's just like, "Oh, you did
this fucking
falcon punch."
Yo, you know what I learned about Thancred? So now he's been a fucking bard, a gladiator, a fucking rogue, a ninja, and now he's a fucking monk. That's what I've learned at this point.
He's leveling all his jobs, man.
He doesn't pull out the daggers. Once he punches a fucking cyclops he punches a fucking cyclops in the face. He uppercuts the damn thing. It just runs off.
He's like, get back to the melee. I got this. The fuck?
His fucking uppercuts the thing. It's like that's not the animation for Forbidden Chakra. That's basically what he did, but like super form. Oh man. But Amandalane was actually a pretty big center point. He was kind of supposed to represent the entire state of Ishgard in this patch.
He's meant to represent the changing attitudes of the Highborn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the new sort of responsibilities they're willing to take is that, they've got the cushy life and all that, and it looks like for the time being they're going to retain that. But Emmerich wants them to take some responsibility along with it.
He also seems to be settling his personal problem with being the youngest son of the family, because it seems like he really is for Ishgard changing, because he doesn't like that he was born into this family with no choice of who he could be or what he could be, which is pretty common whenever there's some sort of royalty quip. There's always some sort of message about that, and he's that guy now.
But
Yeah,
Dad,
but
I don't want
who
to
should
be
have
rich.
the one that should have had the real younger child or problem child mentality would have been Oshifal, because he's the secret bastard child. He's the one that should be salty. He's the one that should be plotting to fucking kill Artoirel for his inheritance, and he's the only fucking cool dude in the whole house.
Yeah, but he's dead.
Maybe that was about a little bit behind his smile.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. It's like
He was too busy creeping on people.
Yeah.
Manolane is just a fuck.
I don't know. I thought by the end of it, like him kind of coming to his own was interesting enough to watch.
It was interesting to watch, but he's.
I was like, I hope he dies in the Grand Melee.
I hope he dies. I
hope he dies, period.
You know what's starting to bother me? That we literally see nothing of the other three houses.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and the fact that now we're all about Ishgard and kind of screw everyone else. I'm like, hang on, no one consulted me here.
I remember you saying last week that you felt that the Warrior of Light was kind of just conforming to everything around him and kind of going backwards on this whole goal to separate ourselves from everything.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's because he called us his friend. I can't say no now.
Oh, right. It's because Emmerich is so fucking handsome and he said that he's going to have a drink with us. You think he seduced us into joining?
You know what was funny, though? Your character is like, am I really going to have a drink with you? Like, when he says that, you look away and you're just like, what?
No. Emmerich, no homo.
No. And then this Grand Melee, it's like, oh, man, that girl, she messed up the conference. Okay. Let's have everyone fight.
Yeah, that was silly. I don't know. Like I've been saying for the longest time that the best place to take the Dragon Song War arc would be involving the Garlands. Would be, again, we first went into Coil and found Twintania and said, holy shit. These guys had the ability to control dragons. We have to make sure that the Garlanes never find this. And now they have. It's everywhere in Azazlar. And I feel like it would be the perfect sort of pivoting point for the Dragon Song War to have the Garlands say, hey, we're going to go after this neurolinking technology. And suddenly all of Nidhogg's bitches being like, oh my God, this is way more important than any beef that Nidhogg has with Ishgard. We need to unite and we need to take these fuckers out of Azazlar.
But the Garlands already
hasn't happened.
They're already moving towards the bigger picture. They see something bigger than the Dragon.
They care more about the Warring Triad at the moment.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I don't think that is a bigger picture. I think the ability to take that neurolinking technology and to control the entire Dravanian horde would shit all over whatever power they're hoping to extract from the Warring Triad.
Well, and somebody brought this up that when he asked for the drink, I thought this too actually when I was watching it, if they were just remembering the last time someone asked them to have a drink, and that was when Nanamo fucking...
Someone thought Alphino was going to poison us?
No, I'm Emmerich.
Oh,
you know what's fucked up though? Literally like 2 cutscenes later, you take a drink and you're fucking poisoned. Like... Like,
Yeah, I mean, like you think we would have learned not to take drinks from strangers?
Random strangers, yeah.
well, and it's like as soon as you walk in and you hear that the random barmaid has a voice actress, you're like, fuck, do not trust her.
She's
Do
important.
not trust this barmaid.
Don't drink that.
Don't drink that.
As soon as you have a voice actor, you're important enough, like, to just I can't be involved with you right now. So this Grand Melee happens, and I thought, actually, the Grand Melee, it was pretty interesting to see them introduce new rules and have to fucking give us a tutorial before a main story.
I kind of felt like it was kind of teasing towards the feast.
Well, we saw pretty much the same thing in I think it was the Machinist level 50 job quest.
You'd have to tell me 'cause I'm only 41.
Well, it was pretty much the same thing, although it had like a capture the flag element. They did the same thing there. They gave you this tutorial, but it was about the Machinist Guild wanting to kind of prove themselves as combatants, and they're all being, people from the Broom, all these are lowborns. And we had a competition in Dragonhead, and it was pretty much the same thing as this against the Knights of, I think it was the Knights of Halenard. And it was pretty much the same thing. So I don't think it's necessarily teasing anything, although it did seem to feel a little bit like a sort of alpha version of the feast, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one target's focused, you kill that target, you get...
Yeah.
The thing is, in the feast, you don't focus the target to get more rewards, just culling time gives you a target, pretty much.
Yeah.
You gotta fuck that guy up. At the same time, I wouldn't mind a mode that worked exactly like this. I wouldn't mind a small little mode that worked pretty much exactly like this, but with like a bunch of NPC units mixed in with player units.
Yeah, I think
like
that
a
would be
MOBA.
fun.
It's like a
Yeah.
MOBA.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Fuck it.
Put some more on top of it.
I know the rules already, and I know that. I like how I was worried because when you get to Raubon at the very end, when you get your score above 90, and Raubon becomes the target, and then it stops everything, goes to the cutscene. It still has the fucking score in the top right, like that matters anymore. When it's pretty.
Well,
much...
you can still see everyone else fighting in the background.
Yeah, but your points don't change. I sat there and waited to see if my points changed. Raubon, it was pretty cool getting to fight Raubon though. Like it was.
Yeah, that was a fun fight.
Yeah.
I like.
Yeah, I like how his special attack was called Immortal Flame. Like
I would love to see the Wandering Minstrel get in on that, because in character, the Wandering Minstrel would be all over that.
Oh yeah,
and getting an extreme mode with him would be
an extreme Grand Melee.
But it's funny how it's funny how Kane Senna and Merlin just don't get involved at all.
Well, because
they're too cool.
They're not really fighters. Like Raubon's not the leader of.
Are you kidding me?
They used to be.
Are you kidding me?
Listen, Moonbrina's
not a fighter.
Listen, Moonbrina literally shot 2 things in the face, and we never saw him do anything again. I'm not sorry, Merlob. Sorry, it's a
Merlin's done her fair share of combat.
Yeah, in 2.2, when she shot one Sahagin in the face and then said, Gods, damn it all. And then that was the end of the... We never saw her do...
We've got a lot of implications about her and the fact that, she found the new world and fought, legions of fucking mammal jar and stuff while she was there. She's a legend. I think it's just the statesmen sort of feel like it's kind of improper for them to be getting involved. You know what I mean?
That'd be pretty fucked up if 2 heads... Although, by that respect, Amaric shouldn't be fighting either, really. But the only reason he does is because he's not an archbishop. He's, like, there is no full...
Yeah, well, it sort of shows you that Amaric thinks of himself in the same way that Raban thinks of himself, is that they think of themselves as, like, servants of the state.
Yeah. Yeah, Amaric, even though he's technically in charge of it, he still doesn't fully...
Yeah, he doesn't think of himself as the dude on top. Whereas the Elder Seers are notorious for thinking themselves being well above everyone else. And Merwood's the same. And despite her sort of talks about democracy and stuff like that, I mean, Nanamo is not going to get a...
No.
Nanamo has never touched a fucking weapon in her life. Imagine one patch, Nanamo just like she goes full like Tataru and just fucking starts like training for fucking battle and like is actually like a god at it. Ralbon trains her. Not like that. Not like that.
At the beginning of 2.0, we had Nanamo, out in Central Thanalan under a pseudonym with, just one escort. I thought that we were going to get like a little bit of that in her character progression, like wanting to sort of explore the world and, learn a trade or whatever. But
only real healers sit on their tank shoulders.
I reckon Kani Senna would be scary, I reckon.
I don't know. Well, I guess with Amdapor, maybe. I mean, you can see what white magic can do when we go into Amdapor.
Yeah.
And that's that was a pretty nice explanation. We might have time to talk about that a little bit later. So we have the conference after this grand melee, because now all the people are like, yes, we want to solve the war. We're united.
Suddenly.
That did it. We're united.
Neck minute.
So we have this conference with Vidofnir, which is a soft moment where apparently even the heretics are like, yeah, sure, yeah, we're on board now.
That's crap.
And then we unveil this monument of Shiva and Hraesvelgr. And then the big moment happens where Vidofnir just fucking stands there, doesn't even turn to look at the guy, and I don't know why. But Estinian appears again. You hear his voice, and then you see him in the red cloaked, and you're like, something is really bad. Something really bad is about to happen. And then you get the full body shot of him with Nidhogg's fucking eyes just poking out of his, like, left arm and his right shoulder, or his right arm and his left shoulder. And he fucking almost murders Vidofnir. I say almost, because apparently Vidofnir survived.
Vidofnir survived. Vidofnir was supposed to survive.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So how did we like Estinian's return?
It was... No, I think it was overdue. I was waiting for him to appear in that kind of form. I knew that there was going to be some sort of fusion between him and Nidhogg was probably going to be able to take his form. Although I was expecting it to be a little bit more subtle than that.
Well, I guess it could be... I didn't expect it to be subtle at all. I mean, I didn't expect Estinian to walk up, hey guys, no, I'm fine, I got out of there. And then all of a sudden we find out later that he's not. No, I knew as soon as we saw Estinian.
I would have been surprised if Square Enix had pulled that one on us.
How'd you get out of there? Oh, you wouldn't believe it. I'll tell you another time. But he just shows up and fucking wrecks everything. And you immediately know that it's Nidhogg and not Estinian. Like, you don't question it for a second. That's a hell of a message for Nidhogg to send. Basically, he's saying next patch is the conclusion of the Dragonsong War, because he's done.
Yeah, he's saying that he's done. He's like, all right, I'm done. Enough playing around.
But it still doesn't answer. Where did he fly to at the end of 3.1 or whatever it was? He just flies away. Oh, look at that, snacks. Lots of snacks apparently. Holy shit! There's like 8 types of beef jerky here and a coffee soda.
How long is your game?
Not that long.
Are you going to be playing D&D for like the next 3 days?
I mean, my sessions are going on like 3 hours, so
you don't need
Holy
that
shit,
many
this coffee
snacks.
soda is amazing.
Coffee soda?
It reminds me of Coca-Cola. It reminds me of Coca-Cola Black, which was really good.
I've never heard of that.
It's real good. Here, look. See? You guys can't see it. You guys see it on the screen. There we go. Hap Coffee Soda. That's what we're talking about here. Thank you.
So Estinian.
Estinian, who's drinking coffee soda.
Yeah, where did he fly off to? Where do we think he flew off to?
I still think he flew off to find one of his... I think he's keeping something that he found. I think he's keeping it from us. He wants us to want to fight him, and then he just wants to unleash whatever he found, which is either one of his other brothers, one of his other brethren who sympathizes with his cause, or it's some sort of other route. He didn't just fly away into the distance, do nothing, and come back.
Well, here's the thing.
What he's been known to do.
Thornton drained at least one of his eyes pretty much dry.
I don't know. They're limitless. They're supposed to be limitless.
They are not limitless. They're like the Tupsamati. They're these ethereal batteries. They absorb ether over time, and they have a shitload of it because he's been absorbing it over the
thousands of years,
20,000 years or whatever it is. The point that Thornton was making is that the ether in the eye was the equivalent of like billions and billions and billions and billions of crystals, and it was that to explain the canonical power of the primal thought and being so far above pretty much anything else. So in defeating Thornton, we must have used up a lot of that. We need to remember that he plunged Ascalon into the generator or whatever it is and drew a lot of ether from the Warring Triad as well. But my suspicion is that wherever he flew back to recharge, that he's got some kind of what's the fate in the Churning Mists? I can't remember the dragon's name. Yeah, dark scale. I think he's got something like that.
Like those dark crystals that make it so you can't do shit to him.
Yeah, he's gone off.
The only fate to ever have mechanics, by the way.
Yeah.
The only fate to ever have mechanics is fucking dark scale.
I think it's a great fate.
Oh, that's anyway, great fate also.
I suspect that Nidhogg, wherever he's going to recharge, and I think you might be right that it's the domain or the equivalent area of one of the other children of Midgard somewhere.
The thing is, it's like when we see him before he flies off, obviously we don't see him, but like the player sees him when they show us cutscenes that our character's not actually in, so we'll be informed. Both of his eyes light up full of ether before he flies off.
Yeah.
He looked like he had just woken up from said recharging nap and then just flew off to do something else.
Yeah. I don't know.
And also, does that mean we're getting the Airy hard mode next patch?
If he goes back to the Airy, he's an idiot. I don't think he's going to go back.
He is an idiot. We already know this. He is an idiot.
If we get Airy hard mode, it'll be another Durgan. It won't be Nidhogg.
Nidhogg is not an idiot.
No.
He hasn't convinced me.
So
Estinian's an idiot. The bit of Estinian in him is dumb as shit. But
that's true.
But Nidhogg's not an idiot.
Okay, so if we're saying that Nidhogg's going to one of his kin or brethren or whatever you want to call it, who's next?
I mean, Shinryu is still supposedly the missing brethren. Like every time we talk about Nidhogg,
there's one more though.
Are you saying Fafnir?
I think Fafnir.
Yeah, Fafnir.
Yeah, because
let's be clear. In Final Fantasy XI, Fafnir and Nidhogg appear in the same area, and it's called the Dragon's Area.
It's actually worth mentioning here that on the on the official forums, Koji at the moment he's gradually updating a lot of the questions he was supposed to answer in the live letter 27,
but then
he's not getting them on the forums at the moment. And one of them was about the 7 and where are these other 2 dragons. He didn't name drop. He did say that we shouldn't expect to see all of them in Heaven's Ward, and that they have plans for at least one of them further down the track. So
Shinryu would be the one I'd imagine they'd save.
Yeah, Shinryu makes sense. Although I was expecting to see Omega Weapon turn up in 3.5 or 3.55.
Yeah.
So maybe Shinryu will be involved with 4.0. But again, we just got to think that it's not super likely that we'll see either Fafnir or Shinryu. I mean, we've hardly had any commune with Race Velga. Surely we've got to bring Race Velga back into the story.
But we need an intermediary with Race Velga, though.
We've got one. But here's the thing. We've got Vidofnir, Race Velga's eldest daughter, whom Nidhogg has just assaulted.
Yeah. And that's the big thing. So my theory has been since we got the trailer for 3.0, and they told us that not every scene in there would be enacted from 3.0. That final scene where we're fending off the dragons of Ishgard, I think that's going to be our trial of 3.3.
That's going to be Nidhogg's attack.
That's going to be Nidhogg's attack on Ishgard. And they make it seem like it's imminent after we get there. It's kind of just like a scene that never actually happens. But
I think you're probably right. However, I would have thought that we not want it to come to that, and we'd want to get to Nidhogg before he came anywhere near Ishgard again.
I don't think that's going to work. And Amaric seems to have considered that as well. Because Amaric whispers something under his breath, and we don't know what it is. And then towards the end, it shows when what's his name? What's the fucking father of House Fortemps?
Edmond.
Yeah, Edmond. Where he does his normal which by the way is still one of my favorite aspects. Whenever they wrap up a patch, they use his journal entries to kind of pull it all together.
Use his captain's log.
I don't know. That's one aspect about the patch I've liked. It kind of puts it in a past perspective, and you're still wondering where the present is. And it'll probably be. I guarantee you, at the end of 3.55, it shows him close the journal, or some shit.
I'm gonna be so mad if it does. That's so fucking cheesy.
No, it's not.
It's like a slow zoom out, and he closes it, and he gets up,
and so the next chapter begins in our hero's adventure. Close. Yeah, I think it's going to come to that scene, and I have a feeling that Hraesvelgr is not going to be afraid of Nidhogg. Hraesvelgr's going to be like, I gave you my fucking eye, I have it back now, okay, asshole?
Yeah, I think that what's happened to Vidolfnir now is going to be enough to tip Hraesvelgr over the edge. And he's going to be
seems like the people aren't against the dragons anymore, they're only against Nidhogg. They just want Nidhogg gone because they
That's a Nidhogg.
And it seems like Amric has accepted that as well. Amric has accepted it doesn't matter if I want peace with the dragons, he has to go.
Amric's definitely, he was so mad. He's definitely accepted that.
Yeah. So it seems like but that's United Ishgard. That's another. It looks like a disaster of a conference, but if anything, it's probably the strongest,
the best outcome.
Point. Well, not the best outcome necessarily. Obviously, you could have had peace with Hraesvelgr and still stopped Nidhogg without that happening.
Look, you're right. Yeah, it's United Ishgard, but again, if it was the Garlean thing, it would have united all of them. Why didn't they fucking do that?
Nidhogg's an asshole. That's why. Doesn't matter where they had gone. Nidhogg is too blinded with rage, and he doesn't blame the Garleans. He blames Ishgard. That's all he blames for. He's like, I don't care. They're going to destroy Ishgard for me. Take the dragons. I'll just take care of this all on my own. He doesn't care. If they all abandoned him, he would just do it on his own. He doesn't care at all.
I think Amaric's going to get the killing blow.
I think so too.
Yeah, and I think Estinian's dead. I think Estinian's dead. Amaric's going to get the killing blow. Estinian's dead. We're not bringing him back. Alphinaud's going to have to fucking deal with it.
And then he'll get Tupsamani. Anyway. So this all wraps up with Estinian and Nidhogg's return. And then we get a few of those little teaser scenes at the end. Now, the one that I feel had the biggest impact was the Warrior of Darkness overseeing the conference and Thancred following him away from the conference. Because Thancred is in a state where he wants to save Minfilia and he will do anything. And Warrior of Darkness directly opposes Hydaelyn. He might be looking to do some stupid shit that he is gonna regret at some point. I think he's in a desperate state, and he is gonna look for help in the worst place.
I think he can hold his own against the Warriors of Darkness.
I don't think he wants to fight them. I think he wants their assistance because he probably thinks the only way to get Minfilia back at this point is for Hydaelyn.
Now you're sounding like Slyh. Now you're sounding like Slyh with Moonbreeder.
No, well, I mean, I think Thancred thinks that about Moonbreeder. I don't think that this will work, but I think that Thancred's looking in some dark places for some help to get Minfilia back. Because if anyone understands Hydaelyn, it'd be the people who understand her polar opposite.
But saying the Warriors of Darkness understand Hydaelyn is like saying we, the Warriors of Light, understand.
No, he wants to go through the Warrior of Darkness to get to the Ascians again. He's been under their control again.
Yeah, but he could just go to Urianger, though.
If he doesn't know he can go to Urianger, he hasn't seen Urianger in God knows how long because that motherfucker's been hanging out with the Ascians. That dude has been missing from the story outside of those, 2 scenes. He's just been like, it's whatever. And no one's even wondering, where is he?
Where's Alizé? Why hasn't Alizé told anyone about this?
And that's another thing is that you said earlier. I mean, the scene with the 2 cups where Alphinaud Alphinaud is by the way an idiot at the end of everything because he's like, so Matoya told me that I have to accept that people will die.
He completely ignored Matoya. Completely ignored it. He's like, yeah, you know what? Matoya said this stuff, but we're gonna save Estinian. Even if it means letting Nidhogg.
He's hopefully optimistic.
He is gonna get I can't wait for his next rude awakening. Before the fall was his first rude awakening. He's gonna have another one real soon.
I think, and I agree with that, but I think that's going to be his breaking point. That's going to be his.
I think he's gonna die at this rate. He's gonna be the one to finally figure it all out and sacrifice himself.
I don't think he's gonna die. I think,
and then Alizé is gonna get thrust in his place.
I think Alphinaud will come to his kind of turning moment, kind of like Thancred did, and he'll become a little bit more battle hardened and come to realize that, and make him a better leader, a better man. But it's going to take one more moment, and I think it's not going to be the next patch, but the patch after that he comes to that.
PAX East?
PAX South.
Okay.
I think he's becoming a bit of a burden at the moment. I think at this point, Alphinaud, like in 2.0, Alphinaud was like the Charlene that like knew all the Charlene things, but we don't need that anymore. Like we probably know more than he does at the moment about Alec and the workings of the live stream and whatnot. I don't know. He's a real he's a real piece of work at the moment.
And I mean, we got to get Alizé back in the picture. I think he needs her back in the picture. I think we saw that kind of at the end of the Bahamut.
I think we need Alizé. Alizé is so much more competent than him.
Yeah. I think that at the end of the Bahamut storyline, we kind of came to the realization that Alizé was actually, even though it looks like Alphinaud is the one who props her up for it because of the scene with Louis Soir.
Yeah. Alizé
honestly, and it just really came to me. Honestly, I think Alphinaud and Alizé are a complete leader, and T12, the end of T12, and right before T13, kind of symbolized that, how they came together, and
don't tell me you think they're going to literally fuse.
No, they're not going to become Charlene Prime.
They complete each other. They complement each other as a leader, and they
Louis Soir Prime.
No. It'd be like Ascian Prime, except to be Charlene Prime.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but they complement themselves, like each other as leaders, and they're like together.
They're even in the same triple triad card.
Yeah. To put it simply, but yeah, I think they're a complete leader. Alphinaud.
What's their triple triad card? Is it even on all sides?
I don't remember.
Oh no.
I think it's even.
If it's like 5-5-5-5, then Sly's onto something.
No, it's stronger than that. They're like it's like S9. It's like A9 something. Right. It's a pretty. I know because Rowena uses it very often.
Yeah.
Rowena loves using that card. I love going up against Rowena when she uses that card.
Have either of you got the Brute Justice card yet?
No.
Fuck, it's so good.
You know what happened?
It's 8-8-8-8.
So, you know what I realized? I rolled on the Echidna card today, and then I remember that I won it before the patch. So I'm sorry to the 23 other people who I took that card from. It drops every time.
They're just gonna take the gold saucer and just trade it in for MGP.
Oh yeah, they're 9933 or 9339 or something like that.
Right, so they're not a complete.
Alphinaud's the 3, by the way.
Yeah. Again,
he's
together,
bringing Alizé down.
Together, a complete leader, though.
But together she's carrying
him. Together, they both equal fucking 22. I'm sorry, 24. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but that's yeah. And then there's so after that, there's 2 more final pieces. We have Amaric's Price for Peace, which is kind of the underlying thing is he's going to give something up at some point to win this war. The question is what?
Lucia.
I know.
Manolane.
Yeah, give him up. That's not a price. That's a sale. So we have Amaric's Price for Peace, and he seems, whatever it is, he looks at Lucia before he gives the command, and then he says it, and then he just sits there like, shit. Can't believe I have to do this. Whatever it is he thought up.
So some kind of new Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, he's gonna become Thornton. He's gonna become Thornton again.
Oh, fuck that.
And then we have, this was interesting. So when we go back to Alamigo, Ethys seems to be gaining too much trust with the Alamigans, is the first thing. And Papalimo's like, you need to calm down, please. But then they cut to some dude who picks up a mask, and that's all we see.
I thought I recognized that mask, and I was like, whose fucking mask is that? And I was like looking at different Final Fantasy characters, and I was like, oh, it's Vega, Street Fighter.
That's what I said.
Crossover confirmed. Yep. We're getting a Street Fighter V promo.
Well, I mean, you guys already saw the fighting mode from the one live letter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Vega's gonna be a feature.
Now, I've seen that theory that it's Nero.
Yeah, I think the contenders are Nero, Gaius.
Did we ever catch that dude who killed that guy? Remember the fucking assassin that killed that guy for when we were investigating, what's his name, in Ul'dah? The guy with the bow and arrow who just disappeared. Did we ever apprehend that guy?
Oh,
the assassin that was like off in the distance.
I'm pretty sure he got.
Ilberd. Ilberd's another one. I've seen Ilberd.
Yeah, Ilberd. I was about to say. I'm pretty sure he got knocked off by one of Telegi's agents to sort of cover his tracks.
But did we see his hand though?
No, you see his hand in a glove.
Yeah,
I like the theory that it's the merchant. We're at the end of every expansion. We're just gonna.
I think it's most likely to be Ilberd. If it's someone that we already know, it's just as likely to be someone that we haven't met yet. But I really hope it's Gaius.
It's not fucking Gaius, dude.
Gaius isn't dead.
He's dead as dicks, man.
It's confirmed. He's not dead.
He's dead as dicks. His dicks are dead. Okay. And even if he was, what's he doing with the Alamegans? He obviously...
His motivation is he thought that that we needed the Empire in order to take care of the primals and eliminate all those threats or whatever. He realized, and he admitted it at the end of 2.0, he was like, all right, I've been duped by the Ascians. I guess the Warrior of Light is the one that's really the one that's got his shit together. So... If Gaius is around, he's on our side.
He would be on our side, yeah.
Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me. And again, people who hide their face.
It's always a character you know.
Well, it's always a fucking Garlean, isn't it?
Someone who has to hide their which is why I thought Ida was potentially a Garlean. We almost saw her eye.
I was thinking the same thing for a while. But that's also why it doesn't really make sense to be Ilberd, because why would Ilberd be hiding his face? He's a patriot.
Yeah,
that's true. I'll accept that. The strong guide the weak. Well, overall, I like this better. It's crazy how much you get done in such a short period of time when you don't have to go through the fucking Sylph lands for an entire patch for fucking 6 hours doing quests. 2.3 is still the only patch I'm salty with. Because it was 8 hours to finish that story because of the Sylph lands.
It was all right.
No, it wasn't. Anyway, and running around Mordona just talking to people like, hey, do you like this? Do you like us? Do you trust us? Please? Do you?
That was important. We had to build some
No, it wasn't. It was as important as us checking the status of the people around the fucking Falcon's Nest. It was as important as that.
I think that we needed some rapport with the Crystal Braves, and we needed to care when they turned against us. We needed to feel betrayed. So I think that was important.
I felt betrayed, but you know what I wasn't thinking? Man, I sure bonded with those guys in 2.3.
And those 3 lines of dialogue.
I definitely wasn't thinking that.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, so we're going to move on from the main story and talk about a part that I enjoyed a lot, which was Alexander Midas. The second chapter in the Alexander story. This took a lot of turns really fast. Like all of this turned into an ordeal very quickly. And they explained a lot of names. I'm so glad they finally explained the names of the fucking people and one him.
I'm still just calling him him.
Him.
They
don't even you know when they ask her what his name is, she doesn't say anything, and the only way you find out is she says it to herself in the middle of in the middle of the knot, and it's like, oh, that's what his name is. Okay. Yeah. So do you actually think that Wedge awoke the second arm? First of all, I gotta ask that. He uses the elemental jammer, it looks like it explodes, something happens, and then, hey, my other arm works.
So this is our doing?
They explained that it was already like building up, and that it was just like a little kind of spark. So no, it wasn't his fault, but like we needed a reason why it suddenly came out now as opposed to any other time,
So
just
when
as we're talking about it.
Which is why when we get towards the end of talking about Midas, we're going to wonder why we didn't just immediately get what's the mother's name that you've been predicting the last part's going to be called?
That I've been predicting.
Yeah, you predicted it. What was it?
Did I?
You predicted what? Because you said what is it? Gordius. Midas is the son of Gordius, or Gordius is the son of Midas.
Yeah.
Midas is the son of Gordius, and nobody knows their father's name. So nobody knows the father's name. So what's the mother's name?
I thought that we basically concluded that it was just going to be called Alexander.
I don't think it is.
Because they refer to it in the cutscenes. They talk about there's the three kings. They're talking about Midas, Gordius, and Alexander.
Oh, okay, there you go.
And they're saying that it seems like the areas are named after the three kings. There's Midas, Gordius, and then there's Alexander proper. So I think that the center is just going to be Alexander.
I wonder if they'll just call it Alexander. Like it's just Gordius, Midas, and Alexander. Because it's called Alexander of the Son of the Father, and it's not going to be of the Holy Spirit. So, like,
I thought it was really interesting that they made Midas and Gordius canonical, like pretty much in the same sort of capacity as their like real myths.
Yeah.
So that was quite interesting and incredibly lazy. Just saying.
After we wake up the arm, we do the usual thing where it's like, guys, we got to stop it. Guys, we got to go in there. We got to shut it down, man. We got the same thing we've been doing since Coil. Like, hey, we found another Coil. We should probably go in there and stop them. And then we learn story along the way, pretty much. We learn of Mide or Mide, whatever the fuck you want to call her. We learned that she was actually an asshole the whole time.
Which we kind of...
we kind of suspected because she knew quick thinks.
She's a reformed asshole, but not quite as reformed as what we thought she was.
Yeah. So we find out that her intentions were originally to use the Illuminati to bring back Alexander, and then use us also to go inside of Alexander once they had brought Alexander back, pretty much. She used us both for different reasons, and all because when they summoned him 3 years ago, her master got sucked into the core before Alexander disappeared because the Enigma Codex shattered. Pretty much in a nutshell. They put it together, they summoned Alexander, it killed everyone except her, gave her a scar, sucked her leader in, and then peaced out when the Enigma Codex broke.
Yeah, it's like absorbed his essence. And I think that that's probably going to come to the front. We're probably going to have to fight him like as Alexander, is that we're going to realize that he is sort of, I guess, the soul of Alexander now. He's in control, and he's still going to have that original motivation that he had, that he was sort of
his
leading
perfect world.
Mide down, and Mide's going to have to come to the conclusion that he's sort of evil.
So you think it's kind of similar to what Nail was to Bahamut?
Yeah, except the other way around. I think that I think that what's his name? Dayan. I think that Dayan is going to be the one that's in control, whereas with Nail, it was very much Bahamut.
Yeah.
That was what was strange to me, is they summoned this primal. And normally when you summon a primal, there's some sort of tempering process or there's something else. He was summoned with this Enigma Codex, which clearly has a large amount of ether involved with it. And on top of that, we learned about its other powers, what it's actually capable of.
Yeah, and we were told that the goblins were using crystals. They had been using crystals.
You could see the crystals over in their the Maker's Quarter. You could see those giant crystals strapped to the wall.
And they got boxes everywhere. And furthermore, in terms of tempering, he doesn't need to temper anyone because the goblins worship him.
But I mean, back when they summoned him 3 years ago, I think they said? However many years ago when they summoned him, they just used the code. They're just like, hey, we have the codex, let's summon this fucking primal, and then he sucks one of them up. It was
because the way that Mide describes it is, it's like it was like a cult. You know, they were like Scientologists or something, and their idea of this sort of perfect world that Alexander would bring had the same sort of fervor as worshipping a god. It was effectively the same thing.
But when they brought him up, he killed them all. He was like, and then
Yeah,
and then absorbed one of their souls. Only one of their souls he absorbed.
Yeah.
He killed all the rest. That's what I don't understand. When they summoned Alexander, what were, like, Alexander very clearly had a motive when he came out the first time. What happened? Like, what was actually going on?
I don't know if he had a motive or they just didn't know how to work him.
The goblins didn't until now. They haven't had complete control because they just completed the codex.
Yeah, but he also hasn't been completely
Fully
online.
activated.
Yeah. Whereas I think that that what Diane did is that he's activated it and then been like, oh shit, what do we do now? And they just haven't been able to control. I think it's been more like a logistics error than anything else. Is that they've just been like mashing buttons and they've accidentally pressed one that fucking kills everyone.
So now that we know what we know about Dion, can we really consider Alexander to be this mindless automaton that we've called him thus far?
I think Diane's going to wake up. And I think Diane's going to wrest control from the goblins.
Yeah, we're going to have another fight against Quick Things. That's for damn certain. Because I'm glad, like, as I expected Quick Things to die this patch. I did originally predict that.
I was hoping he would.
I was originally predicting Quick Things would die and Alexander would wrest control, but it looks like if that does happen, it's not going to be until... I think Dion will be the one who ultimately kills Quick Things. All thoughts.
Yeah, I hope so. He's such a boring character.
And then, so we have Dion. We're already predicting Alexander's core to have something to do with that one. Because he got sucked in, obviously he got sucked into the core. He's there.
Yeah.
They've alluded to it enough at this point. He is going to, as a manifestation of Alexander, will be the final boss. I think we've pretty much come to that conclusion.
Sure.
But then we find out what the barrier's original purpose was, and that it has done that purpose, has done absolutely nothing to serve its purpose. She created this barrier to contain Alexander, and as soon as she created the barrier, the Enigma Codex shattered, and Alexander broke free and he was just ether.
Well, the only thing it's done is stopping people from getting in.
Yeah.
It didn't do a very good job.
No.
Because we still got in.
Yeah.
And we know that barrier is going to break next patch. We know that already because this final picture of Alexander has been shown where the barrier is gone. So we know that that barrier is going to disappear next patch also.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Plus, we've already seen Alexander, like, full on anyway.
That's what I'm saying. I've especially if you've glitched through the wall and gone down and seen his dick. But that's besides the point. Yeah. What? They got rid of it. You can't do that anymore.
Right. So we are allowed to talk about that now?
What the fuck? It's not like we couldn't talk about it before.
Oh, no, we're getting stuck into people for, like, abusing terms of service by glitching through walls and stuff like that.
As long as you report it. You can't avoid something like that getting out. Like, once we know it's down there, we know it's down there.
Yeah, once we know that Alexander's got a dick, we gotta fucking see it for ourselves, alright?
Which is why I almost felt like his core, like, we're not gonna end in his chest. Like, he has they designed so much of his body for his lower half that it's like, I feel like we have to go all the way down, pretty much. His core is not in his chest, it's down further. Giggity.
How you doing?
And on top of that, apparently Roundrox has the ability to control the Enigma Codex. We learned about that kind of back in 3.05 when he's just like,
She's got a pure heart.
It's like,
got a pure heart and an open mind.
Look, I have this piece. Oh, look, I can read it. It's like, okay, I guess you can do that. That's all right. And then Quick Thinks is just like, oh, I knew this was gonna happen. The future, I can tell. This motherfucker's time traveling. That was the weirdest thing. All of a sudden to find out that this motherfucker, this bubble like around Alexander,
is all of a sudden
it's controlling time apparently, and they're using.
And no one had noticed before.
Yeah, and the Enigma Codex is being used to reverse time and prevent Alexander from ever losing his ether and undoing the damage done to his knots in Gordius and Midas.
Time mage confirmed.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. We're going to finish Alexander, the Enigma Codex is going to snap, and then in 4.0, we're going to find a piece of it, and we're going to use it to manipulate.
It's going to be Soulstone.
There you go. Our Soulstone is going to be a piece of the Enigma Codex. There you go.
You heard it here first.
And then, it's like, that was the whole thing, is Quick Things is just like, I'm going to get that back in like 5 seconds. 4.
That was just
3,
too coincidental.
2, 1.
No, that wasn't even
Fine.
a time thing. That wasn't even a time thing. That was just too fucking coincidental. I'm like,
Nothing is a coincidence if it's already been seen. Just like Quick Think said. He's just like, I know the future. And apparently he knows the future because he's been right about it.
How are we gonna
he's just a
break that?
televangelist to me.
How are we gonna break that? How are we gonna break the future?
We go inside Alexander, we shut off his center core.
We've time traveled before.
Yeah, but we don't have Louis Soir anymore, and Tube Samadi is broken in 3 pieces.
Wait, hang on. We gave Sid his goggles. We have time traveled with the Echo. There's got to be an explanation for why we, defy Quick Thinks and find a way around it. And he's going to be like, "What are you?"
Well, remember, they do have a 0.03% chance of failure.
Oh, of course. Well, we're going to be
we're that margin of error.
I'm sorry, was that 0.3?
0.03.
0.03.
Yeah.
No.
Was that 0.3 Sly?
No, not exactly. Not exactly.
It's 1/10
I think that it's going to come back into the Echo is going to play an important role here in terms of defeating him.
Something's got to give because fucking time's being reversed. Round Rocks can read. Fucking Quick Thinks can see the future. And this barrier is doing nothing because Alexander could just walk outside of it. So it doesn't matter. It's like, oh, there's the I'm just going to put my hand on the
I'm sorry. Was I supposed to stay inside that? Oh, jeez. How embarrassing.
How embarrassed. She must be looking at
Someone's just drawn like a chalk line around him.
Well, I mean, to be fair, she would never know. She never knew if it worked or not because she made the barrier and then he just disappeared. So
yeah,
obviously.
of course.
Yeah. And then her final words are to erase the past, a clean slate. Those were Dion's final words, pretty much, before he got absorbed into Alexander. So Alexander seems to be. It's not just the Enigma Codex. I'm assuming that it's just all part of that, as you said, perfect picture. Do you think they've manifested Alexander with these powers because of the belief in the Enigma Codex? You think it's kind of their result that he's able to manipulate time with it more so than it's just anything else? So can I just believe in time travel and just get it every time? Because I would love that power.
If you believe in a time-traveling primal and a bunch of other people do as well, then sure, apparently that's how it works.
There you go. Retconned. There we go. I was happier with the story, but I still feel like they played it too safe.
Yeah, it was better. I wasn't happy with it because of the story, but I feel like the story felt better because the fights were good and the locations were beautiful, and it sort of gets you more excited, gets you more involved. You know what I mean?
I agree with that. I think the aesthetic got me a little more hype for the story, even though the story was a little bit. It was better than 3.05.
Yeah,
but it still let me down in terms of.
It sounds horrible, but we, like, as a community, we need to lower our expectations of future raid storylines after the Binding Coil, because there's no way you can expect them to top that.
It had an entire failed game behind it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we should, and we will be expecting, well-written storylines, but I don't know. I don't think they're going to top Coil.
Shinryu.
To be fair, I still feel like that's the thing. If Nail Van Darnus never appeared in the second Coil, people would have said second Coil fucking sucked. That's the thing.
So are you saying we always need that primer?
Like, imagine if it was a character other than Nail that appeared. Like, if Nail just was no part of the Binding Coil, I feel like it immediately, it would have held a lot less power to me. But because as soon as you see him because first Coil, like I said, had no fucking story. It was, we're going in there, we're gonna stop the Garleans from using. Oh, what? My grandfather and Nail are here. Okay.
But I found that Garland story. I found that quite.
And then it was completely irrelevant by the end of the turn 5.
Well, it wasn't irrelevant. We'd realized that the Garlands in Eorzea had nowhere near the
technology.
The sort of military capability to get into one of the coils. We were like, all right. I mean, they're not going to fucking beat Twintania, so
Yeah, but then you get the second coil, and it's like, okay, there's story here. Okay, Nail.
Yeah.
Like, if it was not Nail, I would not have been excited until
But
finally.
it was Nail. I mean,
But that's what I'm saying.
There's
But
that
that's what I'm saying.
connection to main story. That's what.
But that's what I'm saying. If you look at the story,
Okay.
the story is completely dictated by pulling on 1.0 characters and making it interesting. If you just take the story outside of that bubble where it's Nail and Louis Swan, oh my god, like these characters that disappeared in 1.0, what happened?
Sure.
If you just tell that story of us going into the coil, stopping Bahamut,
But that's because they prepared for it and they
for
learned
fucking 3 years.
Yeah, but it didn't have to have been 3
Because
years.
that's what I'm saying though. First coil story
It could have
sucked.
been one patch.
First Alexander story sucked. Second
Yeah, because there was
coil,
no lead up to it.
second coil story was only good because of the very end.
Because of the connection.
Because of the connection. Honestly, if we had just one semblance more of a connection in Alexander Midas, I probably would have put it on par of second coil. It's just
you saying
there's not enough characters that have had anything built up before. That's the only thing I feel held it back, because the story being told is not any worse, I feel, or any better than the coil story. It's just the characters are infinitely more interesting in coil's story.
So are you saying with future quote unquote coil, like what we're calling Alex
Future raid stories, yeah.
Future raid stories.
Should be pulling from old things that have been set up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say pull from old things, but pull from
set it up ahead of time. Don't just throw the characters at me and then expect me to get interested in it.
4.0, give us X Death.
Yeah, there you go.
Give us a smashed island of Baldessian and give us X Death.
There you go.
Yeah,
I'd say Void Ark is the first place where they got me in. Well, the thing is they got you invested by bringing back Diabolos and bringing back like a character you recognize in Kate Sith, because you recognize that character. I got invested in Void Ark immediately.
But we shouldn't have to rely on like content to rely on other content.
The problem is we already do.
But that's how you build a good story.
That's how you build a good story. You make it so that it's not in a bubble out away from the rest of the world. That at some point,
exactly,
it's
that you plan ahead and you leave little crumbs.
Yeah,
ahead of time.
There you go. I feel like that builds a stronger story. Like Crystal Tower was in its own bubble, but it used Sid. I feel Sid and Nero were its points that kind of drew you into it and their relationship.
Yeah, and the same thing with Void Ark is that the literal Void Ark was something that we'd never heard of before we saw it drifting around the Sea of Clouds. However, we had a lot of unanswered questions about the War of the Magi and about this third mysterious...
They used the lost city of Amdapor Keep. They got you invested.
All of that was to hype for the Void Ark.
Yeah, they got you invested. Alexander just popped out of the water at one point.
Yeah.
And from that point... Yeah, it's like, oh, why is that barrier there? Oh, there's a primal. Like, that was the end of it. It's like, even just breaking it out, like talking about Void Ark like that, talking about Coil and talking about, like, all these other stories had relationships that were built up prior and then put into these new places. Alexander didn't have that. It had a bunch of fucking goblins. The closest we had to building a relationship there was Brayflox. That is the closest thing that we fucking had to building a relationship before going in there. And don't tell me Biggs and Wedge, because those motherfuckers are just clowns every time.
And we've learned now that there wasn't even, like, I was suspecting, there isn't even a Charlene connection. It's not even like it was a Charlene super weapon that they were planning to use against the Garleans before they were forced to flee, before they could complete it or whatever. It's no, just some Alra dude.
Yeah.
Wrote the Enigma Codex.
And that's another thing. What were the Al-Ra doing there 3 years ago when we just found out about their ass?
And this Al-Ra from 100 years ago that wrote the Enigma Codex. First, what is he? Is that, I mean, this might be a breadcrumb for something later on, hopefully. But,
maybe.
Yeah.
All I know is I'm still more excited about the Void Ark story than I am about Alexander.
I agree.
Agreed.
And then we have the final bit of a story, the most important bit, and probably the shortest bit, and that was Hildibrand.
Of course it was short.
This was pretty funny. It only took me about 12, 15 minutes to get through. About 2 hours ago.
After what Slyh said about it last week, I was like really hyped to go and do it, and now I'm just like, yeah, I can wait until I'm done with.
Literally, it'll take you 10 minutes.
15 minutes. That's all.
Yeah.
So, in a nutshell, you run into Godbird at House Fortomp because Nashu is looking for Hildibrand and Ishgard because she calculated his trajectory with the sword, which he doesn't have, by the way. So I don't know where the fuck that sword went, somewhere between the end of 2.5 and now. Then you run into Seer, who is a dude who works with the church, and they're trying to prove that the church and its ability to weed out heretics is still important. And he thinks Hildibrand's
Inquisition.
And he thinks Hildibrand is he thinks everyone's a heretic. He's like, if I don't know who you are, you're a heretic. That's all I know. I just need you to please be a heretic. He's like, please be a heretic. I need a reason to be useful. And he seems kind of to be like our, what was the guy's name?
Briardian?
What?
Briardian?
Yeah, he's our Briardian of this series, pretty much. Although Briardian's in Ishgard, so I don't see why we couldn't run into him either.
I'm sure.
No, I'm sorry.
He's busy.
He's not our Briardian. He's our, what was the main villain's name from the last one? The woman who we found out at the end was
the journalist.
The journalist.
Oh, right.
Yeah. He's our journalist equivalent, pretty much at this point. I don't remember her name. And then you randomly run into the Gentle Deadman. He's supposed to be a gentleman, but he's dead. And he's just like, I'm a zombie, and zombies, well, there's not many of us. So we were looking for a new home, found out that all the dead people here are, like, permadead. So, and he talks to you like he's just a regular guy. Like, it's not like a zombie at all. He tries to pull Hildibrand out of the ground. He's like, I think my arms are gonna fall out of my sockets. And he's like, I think rigor mortis is setting in. It's just like a bunch of jokes about his body.
He's a cool dude. He's saved us a few times already.
He's pretty funny. The zombie gentleman sworn under Hildibrand, as I call him. And every cutscene, Godbert just loses clothes for no reason. Like, you see him fully robed.
His power comes from
but here's the thing. He starts in his robe, like in his he goes as an emissary to Ishgard in his full robe. The very next cutscene, with no explanation, he's wearing his gentleman tux with his shorts. The very next cutscene, he's only wearing the Hyur underwear top looking thing, and then he just transforms and he's only in his underwear. He just loses clothes the entire time. And then Hildibrand finds a Vivi lookalike, calls him Gigi. He finds a mammoth that looks like Vivi, doesn't remember what it is. He calls it Gigi because it makes that sound, even though all mammoths make that sound. And then there's a new mystery man who looks over you and they say, see you next time. There, I just saved you about 8.5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's pretty hilarious the whole time, though. I gotta admit, it was entertaining. Even though it was really short, it was a very entertaining 15 minutes.
So, with that short introduction, when do you think we're going to get more?
We better have more. That's not the kind of shit that can wait till 3.4. This motherfucker's got to be back at 3.3.
Yeah.
But then what the hell are they doing with the Scholastic?
Maybe they'll put Scholastic and
I still haven't done the Scholastic. I still haven't done the Scholastic.
Are you serious? It will maybe take you an hour. It'll maybe take you an hour, maybe.
That's four times the time. That's four times how long.
It's really good.
That's 4 times how long it took for me to do Hildibrand.
Exactly. But yeah, it's Scholastic. You can really knock it out in an hour, maybe less, and it's worth it because it's a really good side story.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Gigi evolves into an interesting side because he's just like, I'm a mammoth. I don't know anything. Is my name Gigi? Okay, sure.
Now, you did reference the Mystery Man and kind of spoil it for you. Sorry. Should have done the shit. There's a Mystery Man in Scholastic.
Oh, I know. I know there's a Mystery Man. They show you the Mystery Man, and in one of the teasers for it, they showed the Mystery Man.
Do you think they're connected?
They better be. That's all I could say. They better be.
They've got to be the same dude.
I think the Scholastic and Hildibrand are going to come together. I think. I think at this point that they are the same. They are the same story, but they're not being told as the same story yet.
Right.
Almost like the way that the Beast Tribes were all different stories and then came together to be one complete story. Which is a story we can't even talk about. We can't even talk about the Vath story yet because it's impossible to have completed it at this point, which is unfortunate.
TLDR, we're dealing a lot of drugs.
Yeah,
everybody's saying that.
Listen, I've seen even just watching.
Literally dealing Charlene weed
to dragons,
to tail feather. We're drug dealers.
You're spraying.
It's like a 90%.
But the Nath just want to be needed. They feel the need to be needed, and
by getting everyone addicted to their weed.
God.
I got this dank. Yo, Annex trying. I got this dank kush for you right now.
Like I've seen
suddenly no one can go without the bat.
I've seen so many Breaking Bad jokes. It's not even funny. God.
Well, they did it. We're not the ones doing it. They made it pretty fucking obvious.
I want to accept them as people who
like
a
dank
beef tribe who. Fine. Fuck it. They're drug dealers. Let's move on. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Right. I'll accept it. Fine.
So when are we seeing Gilgamesh again?
Later on in 3.5, maybe to close it out.
I think we're going to see Gilgamesh again at 3.3. I think he's just going to wander into the story.
Battle in Big Way.
Battle at Big Church.
Big Church.
Big Church.
See you at Big Church.
See you at Big Church.
There you go. I also have a feeling we could fight and battle at Big Vigil. It's another one.
That would be pretty good.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
But who's to say they won't open up another FF boss or...
I guarantee you we end up finding out that there's 3 other mammoths that are evil. Black Waltz 1, 2, and 3. I guarantee you we end up running into Black Waltz 1, 2, and 3 at some point.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. I would be really surprised if we didn't run into the Black Waltzes in the story at some point. I don't think it's the Mystery Man is the Black Waltz, but I have a feeling he's like, because you know how the Black Waltzes were like part of the first disc, like of Final Fantasy IX, which is still not out on Steam, by the way.
Which is bullshit.
Yes, I agree.
Not good enough.
Yeah, not happy. Somebody who's probably made the Mammoth. I just think it's funny, like, oh, when my father pulled me out of the snow, then pulled me back into the snow, now I found this Mammoth, by the way. That's what happens. He tries to pull him out of the snow, and then he slams him back into the snow, and he's even deeper. It's a hilarious scene. You got to do it. All right, and we're running low on time right here because I have another thing that I need to do. So real quick,
excuse me.
Get some D&D. I want to get some closing thoughts on one last piece of story: Sephirot's reawakening and his journal entry.
All right,
I'll just literally let Ethys take this, give his thoughts, and then we can wrap things up.
Yeah, that's a pretty.
Well, if you've got some thoughts, Sly, I'm just pulling up some screenshots here for myself.
Yeah, it was a pretty lengthy journal entry when you actually go back, and I just noticed it to the right of Uno Kalhai in the not the Waking Sands,
Rising Stones.
Rising Stones, thank you.
Yeah,
and it's a pretty lengthy entry. It's just about the Fiend.
Yeah,
I really didn't get into too much detail. I read a little bit, and I'm like, holy shit! They wrote a novel about Sephirot.
Yeah. Well, the important things, firstly, and again, it's what we were basically speculating, is they've done the same thing to the Warring Triad as they did to Bahamut, is that they're using them as power generators, which is cool, whatever. But the really interesting thing with Sephirot in particular is that his sort of power, how do they describe it? They say, let me have a look. He had... where are we? The ability to induce spontaneous growth in living organisms through the manipulation of ambient etheric energy. So that's how he makes himself grow to these big sizes. But he can do it to, obviously, plants would be the obvious one. But what the Allagans have done in studying him is that they've used it in their chimerical experiments and explains why the Allagans that we fight through the Crystal Tower series are so fucking big, is that they've basically been given Sephirot growth hormones.
Yep. They extracted hormones from him. And
the ethereal equivalent. And Zandi's like, yeah, I'll have some of that. And Amon's like, yeah, fuck yeah, juice me up. And that's why they are like that.
That honestly is what it says.
It really is that simple. But it's good because that's kind of been bothering a lot of us for a long time. Like, why do we see human-sized Allagans and then these giant fucking monster Allagans? And there you go, Sephirot.
Yeah.
One small mystery solved.
Now we just have 2 more to go.
We got a lot more than 2 more to go. Jesus Christ.
And then we got Una Kalhai. Figure out what the hell's going on with him.
I will have a video up on Unacalhigh within the next week or so.
Hey,
Find that on youtube.com/ethysasher.
a good segue, because we should probably wrap things up.
All right. Well, you can find me at that place that I just said, where there's going to be a video on Unacalhigh and who I think Unacalhigh is. Or you can follow me on Twitter at Ethys FFXIV. Or if you're really, really brave, you can find me on Twitch for the once in a blue moon that I stream.
In a blue moon, I get it.
Sly, where the people go to see the
give
fox.
you free stuff.
Yeah, to give you.
We've had this conversation before for the stream. You know, I'm becoming.
Carry you through Midas.
Carry you through Midas. I heard that.
If you want to carry Sly through Midas, you can find him at.
You can find me at twitch.tv/Slyakagreyfox. You can find me on Twitter at Slythefox. You can find me on Instagram at Slyakagreyfox07. You can find me on Plot 14, Ward 5 in Behemoth, in the Lavender Beds, home to the foxhole. Free beer and wings.
And is that it? Is that all, Sly?
Free beer and wings if you subscribe to the Negro Dragoon Fund.
United Negro.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was just
United. Sly. Come on now, don't be fucking insulting, Ethys. Please show some fucking tact. And I think I bring this guy on my show. Hey, well, you can see through my eye.
Sly united with both of his pockets.
Well, while Sly laments over his mistakes, I am your other host, Michael, Mr. Happy Polveromo. You find me everywhere, Mr. Happy 1227, and I'm going to be playing D&D in about 11 minutes. I already told the group that I'm just wrapping up the show right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first time ever playing D&D, actually. We're playing 5th edition, 13th Age. And I still need to... I got 10 minutes to figure out what my last background is, because I still have 3 unused points. And unless I just want to... Maybe I just leave them on. Maybe I just leave them unused. You know?
Is there a seduction background?
I can pick. It has to be something that will be advantageous, and I don't think my draconic barbarian is going to be very seducing.
Well, you've probably got, some special talents. You've probably, you said you didn't inherit like the 8-foot dragon dick, but you probably inherited like the scaled for a pleasure sort of features.
I don't know if that's going to help.
Well, if you whip it out, you never know. Or maybe you can seduce dragons.
There's only one dragon in our world, and I'm its child.
Well, that's legal in some states.
I'm not
judging.
We're ending this fucking show. On that note, guys, we are going to wrap things up. I will see you guys. We're going to have like a 1-minute post show pretty much. Because I really need to get going. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching this week's episode of State of the Realm. Next week we'll be back with the we've got some stuff planned. We're gonna be trying to get a crafting and gathering episode, so we'll probably have a segment with Ash coming up again. So Sly, you'll need to be ready to record that because we record those on the weekends.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We also have the feast is coming out next week, but we probably won't do a show about the feast right away. We'll probably include the feast as part of the following show, and then we have a few other things that we'd like to plan out. A few guests we want to get back on the show. Ethys, you aren't one of them. And we got Zivia sometime next month. Also, don't forget.
Not us.
We're on the show.
I won't forget.
Yeah, I hope you do. Anyway.
It's Stump the Ethys, Zivia.
Yeah, Stump the Ethys, Zivia. Basically, it's like when if you take Alex Trebek and you put him on the fucking side. Pretty much. Have the 3 guests ask him, how do you fucking know? I'm going to answer your question. You asked me a question. How about that?
Oh, you guys going to have fun with that. Cheers.
Yes, I am. I've already started picking questions. Already started doing it. On that note, guys, we're going to wrap things up. We'll see you guys on next week's show. Until then, take care.
See you next week.